You're watching River City News.
Early voting is underway in Bexar County, and the big ticket item is a vote pertaining to a new Spurs downtown arena. Joining us to talk about it is Michael Karlis from the San Antonio Current. Thank you for taking us and giving us your time again.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
Great to have you. Michael, so since we last spoke, UTSA released a poll that suggested only 40% of voters were in support of the new arena plan. Do these numbers add up with all the conversations that you've been having with others?
It's hard to say. The way the poll was conducted, it asked about 600 likely Bexar County voters whether they plan on voting for or against the arena, and that was, as you said, 40% for, 46% against. However, they asked another question in that same survey about Project Marvel, in which a majority of the people actually supported it. Now, of course, Project Marvel is the larger entertainment complex that will cost about $4 billion, but that's not what we're voting on right now and on November 4th. So it's a bit confusing, and it's hard to say how accurate those numbers really are.
Yeah, so a lot of talk has also been made about the Spurs leaving if this vote does fail. What's your take on that?
I don't think they will leave. I mean, the discourse online is that if this vote fails on November 4th, the Coyote is going to be packing his stuff in a U-Haul and leaving the Frost Bank Center the next day. And that's just not really likely the case. I think the city and the county and the Spurs will re-enter negotiations, this time led by Mayor Gina Ortiz-Jones, who has some strong thoughts about how she wants these negotiations to move forward. And I would either expect a second vote, similar to what we're doing now, or a way in which the city will come up with the money that does not require another public vote.
Okay, so would you, in other words, say it's more of like an urgency way to get people to do this quickly and possible, like almost a threat?
I don't think the team has not publicly said that they will relocate if this vote fails. I just think it is a way to get people to the polls and to encourage voter turnout. But like I said, the Spurs have not said they're leaving if this vote fails.
Well, some have also suggested that if the vote fails, the money for Project Marvel goes back to the state. What's the topic on that? Okay,
so yeah, so some of the money will go back to the state, but not until 2030. That's part of the Project Finance Zone funding mechanism. So essentially the city has 5 years to come to a deal with the Spurs, renovate the convention center or renovate the Alamo Dome, or all three before 2030, before that money would go back to the state. It doesn't go back immediately if the vote fails on November 4th.
Well, other local politics, an interesting report from Mayor Ron Nirenberg. He's maybe challenging Judge Peter Sakai for his seat. Sakai addressed it on social media, noting that he thought Ron was packed for Washington and called it disappointing that Ron would pick a fight in the Democratic Party versus working together. What's your take on this?
Yeah, Judge Peter Sakai is having a bad week, and that was a very uncharacteristic post from Sakai, who's usually very media shy and very reserved. But I do think that kind of shows a sense of concern from his camp, since there was a poll conducted kind of internally and then publicly about a matchup between Nirenberg and Sakai, and it had Nirenberg kind of wiping the floor with Sakai.
Yeah.
And if Ron does decide to run for Bexar County judge, I feel very confident that at this point in time he would win.
I agree. He's very much favored and loved across the board, for sure.
That's more now than when he was mayor, probably.
Yeah. Anything else that you would like to add for those who are about to get this early voting going, and things they should note?
Just, early voting runs until October 31st. I'll say that the first day of early voting was actually lower turnout than in the mayoral race, which is interesting because there's been so much hype, but I guess people aren't really heading to the polls as some people would wish they would. So vote early, vote often, or well, don't vote often, but just vote once. But yeah, it runs until the 31st, and you can find more information about that on the Bexar County Elections Department's website.
All right, always a great time to have you. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.